Welcome to the Call Your Shot podcast, your weekly sports recap podcast where we break down the hottest headlines, dissect the latest injuries, and serve up our own hard-hitting analysis of the past week in sports. But that's not all. We're not just here to talk about the past, we're here to predict the future as well. On the Call Your Shot podcast, we boldly predict the outcomes of the upcoming week's games.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening. This is the Call Your Shot podcast with your hosts, Alex Harris and Drew Moore. Today's episode, we're finally back. Football season's finally here. So we're going to get into the division rankings and who we have winning each division. Go down about 8 in total. But before we get into that, Drew, how have you been? What's new in the thing over there?
Well, your boy is a full-fledged physical therapist now, so that's great. I'm done with school, thankfully.
I have not seen any
Okay. I'll send it to you in the mail.
Yeah, okay.
But main thing is now I just got to pay back those loans. You know what I'm saying? Apparently they want their money back after I used it all. It's dumb. Other than that, just out here, as the kids say, bick and back being bull. So just living life right now. What about you, sir?
Well, you can go all in on your Saints this year and stuff. Put 100 down, make a cool millie when they win the Super Bowl. Kamara, Derek Carr to the moon.
So I might as well just donate that to like a local charity if we're gonna do that. At least it'll pay off in some way, shape, or form. So
other than that, no, we've just been chilling over here. Finally made the move out of Yakima, unfortunately. Over in Vancouver now, which is Drew's old stopping ground. So, as soon as he left, he was able to finally move over here because it was safe. But other than that, just looking for places to settle down. But let's get into the NFL, Drew. So we're going to go through each of these divisions and kind of see who we have winning each division and kind of go through the rankings overall. Do you have a specific NFC or AFC that you want to start with?
You brought up the Saints, so we can start in the South and then make our way up to the North. And so, unfortunately, this year with my Saints, I am more down on the Saints than I ever have been. It is not looking good over there in New Orleans, as the kids say again. We have nobody. And that is the take. There is nobody on the team except for
Taysom Hill.
Okay, so again, we have nobody. So with I don't understand Dennis Allen and how he is a coach.
I don't understand how he has a job.
He's terrible. He's one of the worst coaches in the league, and he doesn't know how to make any adjustments. He never shows any kind of play calling ability either. And he's supposed to be a defensive guy, and their defense is decent, but it is not able to withstand the travesty that is the offensive production versus a team like the Jets, where at least their defense is able to, like last year, they were able to maintain a poor offense and
keep them in games
at least. Versus the Saints, it's just a bloodbath every time. And we talked about how easy their schedule was last year. Like, that was supposed to be like one of the easiest schedules out there, but just because of how bad the playmaking ability was of the team, they barely even managed to win 9 games. Like that, and like we were saying, we're like, there's no way they don't win at least 10, and they won 9, which close, but at the same time, they should have probably won at least 10, 11 games. And so with that, the Bucks ended up winning the division last year. The Falcons ended up finishing third. The Panthers ended up finishing last. And I just think that the Saints finishing second was a miracle because of not only we were talking about how easy the Saints schedule was, how easy the Falcons schedule was just beyond me. And they were winning so many games, and then they just gave it away on like the last drive, where all they would need to do is just knee the ball, and then the game was over.
Shout out Desmond Ritter.
Desmond Ritter got out there slanging that thing with some, again, piss poor play calling by your boy Arthur Smith, and what ended up happening was, as a result, he gets fired because of how bad he was at using his superstar players and everything like that. So between the Saints, between the Falcons, um, I think that the Dirty Birds are going to take over the division. I feel like it's pretty hard to say anything else other than that. The Panthers, stop. No.
Hey,
The Buccaneers, we saw it last year, and Baker looked pretty good, but at the
I
same
think that was
time,
their ceiling.
yeah, it 100% was. Canales, like he's out of there now, and he's hopefully going to be working with Bryce Young, making him a better quarterback. I don't know if that's possible,
QB
but
whisperer.
it, allegedly. Um, but in terms of like where the Buccaneers are and everything like that, they lost a lot on the defensive end, so they're not going to be the same team. They lost a lot on the offensive line, so Baker's going to be running for his life again. And then you also have the fact that I know Mike Evans, your boy, is he's a unicorn
He's
out
him.
there.
He's
No
him.
matter what, he just goes out there, does his job. God damn
Hmm.
it! But at the same time, he's he's still getting up there in age, Alex. He's
Oh, I agree with you.
not the ageless wonder that he once was.
Well, he is
But
ageless wonder.
no, Tom Brady is the ageless wonder. Um, but also it does help that the Falcons have one of the easiest schedules again, um, going forward. So it's literally the ball is in their court. All they have to do is just not fumble the bag like they did last year, and they should have no problem winning the division this year, especially with all the talent that they have. So
Yeah, the fact that they played as well as they did last year, even though I don't think, like you said, Arthur Smith, I don't think they used like Bijan and some of the weapons as well as they could have, mainly because of
mm-hmm.
Desmond Ritter. But I mean, I think that even with Kirk Cousins coming off of his Achilles injury, that like anything almost is better than Desmond Ritter. Just like with the Jets, anything is better than Zach Wilson. So the fact that you
Yeah,
have Kirk Cousin, who is, he's not a leader or anything like that, but he's kind of like a middle of the road quarterback. I don't know how he's going to be coming off of the Achilles injury. I guess you could speak more on that and how you kind of expect with, returns and stuff like that for quarterbacks. I guess when we talk about Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins, but I think that the amount of weapons that they have, adding Darnell Mooney, and then the second year with Bijan, and just having comparable quarterback play is just going to easily have the Falcons winning this division. So that's kind of how I have it too. Second, I would have the Bucks. Like I said, I think last year was their ceiling, and they even beat the Eagles, who were falling apart at the end of the season. So them kind of getting to the second round with Baker Mayfield and him kind of earning his spot and getting his bag. But I mean, like you said, Mike Evans is getting in younger, Chris Godwin is getting in younger, and then I think that Rashad White is kind of like a volume monster, but I wouldn't necessarily say that he's great.
he's not
So
good.
yeah,
Realistically,
so
he's good.
I think he finishes like RB4 last year, but I think he'll finish as. I mean, I think the Bucks will still just be a solid team. They might have a couple upsets, but I think they're kind of be a middle of the pack team. And then you kind of have the bottom feeders with the Saints and the Panthers coming, you know, in the back. But I think that the division is pretty solid with the Falcons taking that over. So, but yeah, we wanted to touch on that. How do you feel about Kirk Cousins when it comes to coming off the Achilles? And then we can talk a little bit more about Aaron Rodgers when we get to the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, as a quarterback, I'm not too concerned about it.
That
Typical
mobility,
time,
though. He's a
he's
rusher.
not.
He's
Okay,
a
stop.
white Cam Newton.
He,
He is.
stop. He's got that Tom Brady, and I'm just over the top, back down.
Mm-hmm.
So, but nah, he should be fine. Sure, it's his plant leg, so when he's going back to pass, he might not have as much velo on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm not expecting too much of a drop off. And from what the data says, it's pretty standard injury that like pretty standard recovery, I should say, um, and shouldn't have too many complications. Whereas on the flip side, with running backs or like wide receivers and stuff, you see a pretty significant drop off. And I believe I don't remember what the article had said now, but last year there was an article that came out, and it was like that running backs after they have an Achilles tendon rupture, they're out of the league within I think like 3 or 4 years, something like that,
Yeah.
which is kind of crazy to think about. So like you see players like Cam Akers, who,
The goat.
he's okay. He was doing okay. He was doing pretty good the first couple games, and then he kind of just tapered off, and then
Mm-hmm.
just kind of lost it. Um, and then same thing with was it James Robinson
Mm-hmm.
on the Jaguars? Similar kind of thing. Came back looking good, and then have you even heard of him anymore? Like he's just out of the league.
Facts.
So it's a devastating injury for running backs. But in terms of the quarterbacks and like positions that don't require as much mobility, he should be okay. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers, and it definitely does help that they bolstered their offensive line, so he doesn't have to
Facts.
really worry about that as much. However, in terms of the Falcons' offensive line, um, last year, like allegedly, it was a good offensive line, but there's some mixed reviews out there saying that like on Pro Football Focus, Pro Football Focus, they were ranked like top five offensive line,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of the pass
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 protection is kind
blocking,
of iffy.
exactly. And this year they have their pass protection ranked 26th. So
Not
we'll
last.
see how. Yeah, well, it's fair. So we'll see how they'll fare with a after losing a bunch of players on the O line. Their run defense or run offensive line should still be fine, but definitely the passing game is going to be impacted there. So
The last thing about the Falcons, how do you feel when it comes to Kirk Cousins, and having all these weapons and stuff like that? Obviously, Justin Jefferson is great in his own right, but, Kirk Cousins definitely helps by targeting him as much. But with like Drake London, Kyle Pitts to the moon type situation, or even opening it up more for Bijan.
I mean, are we forgetting that this man's was like on a record breaking pace like before he got hurt? Like he was in the MVP conversations and
Slanging
stuff.
that thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so like it's crazy to think that like he can maintain that or keep that up or somewhere near that going forward. But at the same time, like he he's not a terrible quarterback. Like, he's definitely an above average quarterback, and like he can win you games for sure. I wouldn't put him in the same category as like a Josh Allen, a Holmes, or anything like that. But I'd say he's like a tier two and a half kind of
Say
quarterback.
2 to 3.
But I mean, like in we'll filter this like weeks one through we'll go 1 through 7. And last year, if you look at EPA per play plus completions over expected, you have Kirk Cousins who ranked second in weeks 1 through 7. So like he was he was slanging that thing, man, and he was getting the job done for sure. But
So they were getting
again,
blown out.
that's fair. Um, but again, this year, I think that the main thing is going to be the changes on the offensive end, and now that they have Arthur Smith out of there, the stench of him and
Jesus.
his regime, um, I think that they'll be able to run a legitimate offense now. Granted, they have a lot of newbies calling plays, so it'll be interesting how that also shakes out as well. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Fair enough. So we can move on, go to the NFC North, is like I think it's one of my favorite divisions for this season. When we have
yes.
the Lions winning the NFC North last year, followed by the Packers, Bears, and then ultimately the Vikings. How do you have that division shaken up? Because I ain't gonna lie to you, I actually have it the exact same, except I have the Bears with the same amount of wins as the Packers. So I'm not exactly sure who I'm gonna have winning that for the second place yet, but I do have the Lions going it back. I don't think that they're gonna be nearly as good as they were last year. I'm not exactly sure how you feel about your boy when it comes to the running back position, um, coming off a hamstring injury. But you talk on that because they did lose some kind of weapons that they had. They still obviously have Amon-Ra and Laporta, but when it comes to more depth over there, is Jameson going to step up as a number 2 receiver or whatever the case may be? And then how do you feel about Chicago with their bolstered uh, offense overall? Caleb Williams, Keenan Allen, everybody.
Yeah, the so first off, like the Lions, they're they're in win now situation, right? Because
Facts.
they have all these players, but they're gonna need to get paid by
They did
I
get
think it's
paid.
like next. Well, they're the rest of them are gonna need to get paid, like Jameer Gibbs and everything.
They
Then
still
they're
got
gonna
like
need to
three
get paid.
years.
Well, with that, their their O line that they have right now that they
Yeah.
just drafted, Penny Sewell. So they need they need to win now uh, because of the contracts that are expiring on their team. And with that too, they also are going to end up losing probably a couple of their coaches, especially offensive coordinator. Uh, like last year, he was just running circles around folks. But then, for whatever reason, they decided, like at halftime when they were dominating, they were running the
Hmm.
ball for like 5 yards a carry. They just started to throw the ball, and we're like,
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
No, go back and run the ball with Jameer Gibbs. Run the ball with Dave Montgomery. You're literally picking up 5 yards every single time you run the ball. That makes zero sense. And so, but then they didn't do that until it was like the fourth quarter, and then they were down, and then it was like, well, now we can't run the ball anymore because now we're losing. So now we need to pass the ball. But other than that slight mishap, they're running circles around everyone. And I think it's going to be more of the same this year. Again, like you were saying, my only concern, again, is going to be who else do they have outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown and outside of Laporta? Sure, they have Jameer Gibbs, but he's dealing with a hammy. They have David Montgomery, but he's not really. I wouldn't
Just
call him a. He can be a workhorse back,
a little
but
bit
I
of a
wouldn't call
bruiser.
him
That's about it.
an elite. Yeah, I wouldn't call him like an elite running back to where you can rely on him and dump it off to him in the passing game as well.
He's injury prone
Because
as well.
exactly, and so is it going to be Jamison Williams? Who knows? He had plenty of opportunity to show that last year, and he did. So I don't think that it's like going to really pan out for him. Maybe he just needed more time to develop with the team, even though he had plenty of time to. Well, he wasn't able to be with the team, but after the bye week and everything, he was with
Mhm.
the team, learned the playbook a little bit more. And this past season, he was out there as well in the preseason and everything. But even then, like you didn't really hear a lot of hype around him, being like, "Oh yeah, like Jameson Williams making all these plays, like he's that dude." That's exactly what we thought he was going to be. Like you're not really hearing that out of any of the camps. You're mainly just hearing, "Okay, Amon-Ra St. Brown is him,
Mhm.
Laporta is him, Jameer Gibbs is him. Oh, actually, he messed up his hamstring, so he's still him, but with a little bit less of a hamstring."
Mhm.
So it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting what happens there. But one thing that helps them again, like we had talked about last year, was their offensive line is one of the best in the league, and per Pro Football Focus, I believe they're number two going into the season. Yeah, number two, only to the Eagles. So, and in terms of pass blocking, pass protection, they're number three. I think that's pretty good. So,
Sigh.
um, decent. Uh, but yeah, I think going into the season, um, they have high expectations, um, but I think that they'll be able to match those. But I just don't see them making it any further than like in the playoffs or anything like that. I think that the division championship is theirs, but after that, I don't see them really making that big of a run because there's too much talent out there right now. So
Facts.
yeah.
How do you have the rest of it looking up with the Packers, the Bears, and the
Yeah,
Vikings?
rest of it. Um, you know, I wasn't a believer in.
You're not. Are you with Caleb? Caleb to the moon? Caleb to the Super Bowl? That
Well,
little best
I was gonna
string going on.
say I was gonna say I wasn't really a believer in Jordan Love and everything when he was going through his stuff last year,
Mm-hmm.
where you know, oh, he's throwing it for 300 yards again, but it was against like the Raiders, and I was like, okay, well, do it against somebody good. He does it against the Saints, who have like bottom 10 secondary, so it's like, is he really good? Is he doing that? But then, I mean,
He got
the
paid.
stats. That's true, like, and the stats don't lie. Like if you look at EPA per play, and completions over expected. Jordan Love, second in the league, and the second half of the season, only to Dak Prescott. So, like, it's it looks gross. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know
Yeah.
how or when that happened, but apparently the stats are showing that did happen. And stats do lie. So
Drew hates Jordan Love, apparently.
I don't hate him.
You said
It
I
just
like it.
makes no sense.
I don't love it.
I don't I don't think it's sustainable for him.
Mhm.
Because that's literally at a well top 3 level that he was playing at in the second half of the season, and I
Mhm.
don't think that that's sustainable. Um, he is he that guy? Maybe, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. The maybe the Packers sold their souls and they will never have a bad quarterback ever again for like the next 50 years or something.
Three
Maybe they just
quarterbacks in the
know.
past 50 years is ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
Or four.
And so, like maybe that's what it is. But at the same time, I I don't really like their wide receiver options though. Even though like they're young,
Young and
they're
talented, but
fast,
they're
and
not healthy.
they're always injured. The best ability is availability, and they're never on the field. So
Mm.
they got some good tight ends that are generally healthy. They don't have your boy Aaron Jones anymore. They have the I don't like
Talk about maybe you
Josh
just hate the
Jacobs.
Packers over. Yeah, because we already know how you feel about Josh Jacobs, man. Drew refuses to believe that Josh Jacobs is a good running back.
He's
I
dude,
don't
he's not good.
understand.
I don't
Well,
care.
I
He's
mean,
not good.
and then you had AJ Dillon who just went on IR this week. So people were talking about the running backs in Green Bay have always kind of been a committee show, and Aaron Jones was just good because how efficient he was, and no matter how ugly it looked, they still give AJ Dillon his touches. Now he's starting on IR, so it looks like it is really going to be the Josh Jacobs show. So we will see how good he
Well,
is or is not.
and one of the things too that you have to remember is last year, the Raiders were number 6 in terms of run blocking offense versus
I refuse to believe that.
The Packers were 27th. Okay, and this year, do you know what they're projected to be?
27.
27th. Exactly. So like he's benefited from a lot of volume. Yes, of course, that's
Mhm.
great. We love running backs with volume. That's great. But at the same time, going to have a split backfield, that's just what they do. And also they don't have the same offensive line that can get that push up front, pause, to where they're able to give him space to run free because he's not necessarily a like a bounce it outside kind of guy. Like he's a run in between the tackles kind of guy. He's
Yeah,
more,
he
and
breaks
so
tackles. But gives him some space. We talk about how I don't understand how the Raiders were sixth in run blocking last year when they had
dude, they were
no. But okay, I believe, but they had nobody at quarterback, so I don't think he had any space,
well,
any holes to run through. Because other than Devontae Adams, they weren't worried about nothing. And no,
but I'm just saying. Like it's going to be a different offense for him to be running behind, and I don't think it's going to end very well for him. And when you're not having that much success on the ground, that's going to lock down the offensive ability for Jordan Love to be passing, and so we're really going to see how good he is when he doesn't have the run game to back him up there. Because I think the play that Aaron Jones had down the stretch is being pretty underrated, honestly. Um, but Josh Jacobs, I, I'm out on you. I'm
all right,
sorry, sir.
fair enough, fair enough. Moving to a lot of people's favorite team coming into the season, Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears, one of the best draft prospects we've had in recent memory, and then basically probably one of the best rookie situations that you have. You had DJ Moore, who finally had his wide receiver one breakout season that you've been wanting for the past 6 or 7 years, Drew. Along with that, they
And one
bring in
time I didn't have him.
Keenan Allen, the route running vet. They bring in Romeo Dunze as they draft him from Washington, and as well as DeAndre Swift. So like, how do you feel about the Bears? Do you feel like they actually could make some noise, or do you still feel like they're kind of going to be mediocre? Because like last year, they still like surprisingly finished with like 7 wins, which was pretty surprising. So I'm saying like they can't. I feel like they're going to improve, but if they improve, then they actually could have a shot at the division. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, they had 7 wins last year. How? No idea. No clue. And a lot of it was pretty flugazy, honestly.
That's Justin
Um,
Fields.
okay. And I don't like. it's hard to say that they're going to improve that much from season to season, especially because like their win total last year, it was, I believe, like 6.5 or something, pretty low like that. But this year it was, yeah, 6.5. And then this year coming in, they have all these new pieces, and I feel bad for Justin Fields because they they really just were like,
Gave him nothing. Look,
goodbye.
they gave him
You
DJ
get
Moore.
nothing. Oh, that's cute. Thank you. I get a 5'8" wide
What?
receiver.
He had like
And so,
1,400 yards.
oh yeah, that was the only person to throw to. Who else did you throw to? But at the same time, this year having their win total up at 8.5, I think is a little steep.
uh,
Like
yeah.
that is like,
For a
sure, you
rookie,
have all these. Yeah, not only is it a rookie, you have
good
all these
division.
pieces. And there's also pretty good competition, to where like you're not the only guy there. Whereas in with Stroud last year, like, sure, they just had like an outstanding year. Like that was an anomaly. That doesn't usually happen with rookie quarterbacks and a rookie head coach. But with Williams, Caleb Williams, do I think that he's going to have a similar season as CJ Stroud last year? Absolutely not. Do I think he's going to have a good season? It'll be decent. Do I think that he's going to be a top 10 top 10 quarterback this year? Potentially, yes. But at the same time,
Pretty
you have
damn
an
good for a rookie,
aging.
don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's the number one overall pick, and he's one of the highest touted prospects in a while.
Since
But at the
Trevor
same time,
Lawrence,
and we see how well Trevor Lawrence is doing.
he got paid
So
too.
for no reason, because they didn't have a choice. They did not have a choice.
Printing
But
monopoly money.
exactly. But I do think that overall he's going to do well, but I don't think that the expectations that he has right now he's going to live up to, because you have an aging Keenan Allen. That's your boy. I know. I don't want to talk ill about him.
Mm.
But
He
he's
looked elite
aging.
last season. That's all I know.
Well, it's pretty easy to just run a 3 yard in route, so
Hey,
I can do
hey,
that too.
hey. He had like a
So
career year last season. Literally.
who else was he throwing to? They literally tried to put Quentin Johnson out there, and
Hey,
he was just a decoy. Mike
excuses.
Williams, he was out there a little bit.
Excuses.
He did
With
nothing.
Keenan Allen, with DJ Moore, with Rome Dunze. I know how much you love the Huskies. All right.
And so, exactly. So like you have all these. My main thing is you have all these moving pieces. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have any foundation. You don't have any chemistry. You don't have any stability. You don't
Caleb
have
is
like a
the
glue
foundation,
guy.
chemistry,
Okay.
stability, and glue.
Okay. Okay.
Caleb to the moon.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, I could be dead wrong. Maybe he's gonna throw for 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, and I'm just
You're
stupid.
on the fence. You're like, oh, I think the expectations are too high. Can he
They
finish the
are
league as a top 10 quarterback? Yeah,
top
maybe.
10.
So I'm like,
Top
if
10, yeah, top 10 is within the realm. Like
what do you
top
think
10
his
is insane.
expectations are? Because 8.5 wins, I don't think it's like ridiculous for a team that
Eight and a
has
half
that much.
wins, I think, is pretty ridiculous
That's
because their
basically like
defense.
that's 500.
Yeah, and I don't think that they're a 500 team right now.
Just
I
because
think
their
that,
defense alone.
yeah, and their offense too. Because again, I don't think that they're going to have the chemistry that the other teams are going to have, like the Lions, where they built that from the ground up. Like
Mm-hmm.
they all have that foundation. And with the Bears, you don't have that. You have a few guys that are good talents.
Mm-hmm.
DeAndre Swift, I don't even know if he's all that good, but
Elite.
okay. And the offensive line, allegedly, I take this with a grain of salt, because Pro Football Focus now has their offensive line up at ninth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Last year, poor poor
Justin Fields
Justin
running for
Fields
his life out
running
there,
for
bro.
his fucking life. They were ranked 27th last year, and if that's
Okay.
what the 27th ranked offensive line looked like, there is no way in hell that they're going to go from 27th to ninth
So
in
I
one
know.
year.
How is it that like every team was ranked terribly in run defense last year, and somehow everybody's top 10 now? I don't
No, not
understand.
even.
Like,
Who?
you said the
Like,
Bears were like 26 last year, and now they're
yeah,
top 10.
Yeah, Bears were 27th last year, and now they're ninth. And the only other team that had that big of a jump would be um, the Browns, who were 18th overall, and then now they're projected to be fourth. Uh,
They've
you
always
also
been
have the
known to have a good
Panthers.
offensive line, though.
Yeah, but
So I digress.
um, moral of the story is I'm not a believer. I do think that he's going to have a great career down the road
Hmm.
in a few years.
Hmm.
But right now, I don't think that it's there. I don't think that they have that foundation. I don't think that Matt Eberflus, however you want to pronounce his name, all he does is lose. So I don't think that he's going to
You hear that, Matt?
be the guy. Yeah, I don't think that he's going to be the guy to be able to corral the team and give Caleb Williams the kind of coaching that he needs. Because I think that he's honestly like a bottom 10 coach in the league right now. So
Fair enough. And then lastly, how do you feel about the Vikings, who unfortunately lost J.J. McCarthy to, I believe it was a knee injury that ended up requiring surgery, so now he's out for the season. And then you have your boy Sam Darnold going to fill in as the starting quarterback going forward. So now you have, you know, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison praying that they get some.
I don't know if he had Jordan Addison, but
There's a report came out today that Justin Jefferson said that Sam Darnold threw the softest pass, or like I don't know. He said his throws were like pillows. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's supposed to be like he's a good quarterback or he has no velocity. Like I don't know. I didn't. I read it. I didn't like it. So
that's probably no velocity on there. Yeah, man. Like I, I've never liked Sam Darnold ever. Even when he was on at USC, I
Hey,
never
Baker
liked him,
Mayfield did it last year. It's Sam Darnold's year. All right,
dude. He's
Sam.
oh my god. I don't know why people think that he's good. Like he's a
I don't
good
think people
backup.
think he's good. Oh, well, that's a
People
good
do. What
backup.
do you?
That's a good. I mean, yeah, there's a
Yeah,
good
good back.
backup.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
it's
as a
not like
backup, they're like, oh, he's such a great back. No, like a good backup would be like Chase Daniels. Chase Daniels is a good backup. He
Jameis
gets
Winston.
you exactly. James is a little risky. Chase Daniels is exactly what you want in a backup. He knows the playbook in and out. He might not be quick, might not be agile, but he can get the
He's not
ball
like-
from A to B. He can throw that slant route. He can't throw it deep,
I don't want
but
those athletic quarterbacks. I just want I want the
mm-hmm.
fundamentals. All right, you can
Colt
throw a good
McCoy,
slant route.
Colt McCoy, great backup
Oh
quarterback.
boy.
He retired this year.
Mm-hmm.
That is a solid backup quarterback. Like you know exactly what you're getting.
Okay.
You're not just
All right.
YOLOing the ball.
All right.
But then you have this guy out here.
All right.
Like I don't know, man. Tyrod Taylor, I'd much rather have over Sam Darnold any day.
Fair enough.
Anyways, I don't think that they're going to be very good this year at
Yeah.
all.
Chalk it up to
I
a
think they're
loss
going to
season.
finish the at the bottom of the division, and I feel bad for Aaron Jones. I'm not sure how he got traded in division to a rival. That's interesting, but
He got his bag though.
yeah,
So did JJ. They can cry in their Lambos.
exactly. Now they have
$200 million
no
contract.
mm-hmm. They have no way to get the ball, so it'll be
Mm-hmm.
interesting what happens with them.
So fair enough. So moving on, would you want to finish up the NFC in the East or the West? Because
We can finish with the East.
we can finish with the East. All right, moving on to the NFC West. You already know Seahawks going all the way again. And you know, I got it 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals. I think it's going to be I think the 49ers are clearly going to win this division. I think that fighting for that wild card spot with the Rams, Seahawks, and Cardinals is all going to be good. Cardinals are coming back with Kyler Murray fully healthy. They've kind of revamped the offense with Marvin Harrison Jr. James Conner should be healthy. And then you kind of have McBride, who kind of did a big showing towards the end of the season as a tight end, as a breakout. And then, had the Rams, who surprised everybody last year, and they're basically kind of running it back and kind of, boasted a little bit more running back depth with Quorum to kind of spell who's there? Kyron Williams. And then, the Seahawks doing what they do. They finally get in the new offense and hopefully spread it out a little bit. Pause.
Did you see that Kyron Williams is a
returning punts? Yeah. Mr. Do It All. He said, oh, well, you thought I was going to lose volume? Watch. Let me do this. Let me do my best Taysom Hill impression. Return punts. So, yeah, I think the 49ers are probably clearly going to win this division by at least a game and a half, 2 games. And I think it's going to be really close with the Seahawks, Rams, and Cardinals. I don't know exactly which way it's going to roll, but that would be kind of that would be my ranking. So, 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals, what you got?
Um, real quick, we were talking about this before the show,
Mhm.
about the win total for the 49ers. It's 11 and a half.
Okay, yeah,
So,
I would choose the under on that. I think they're going to
yeah.
probably have 11 wins, especially with that good of a division, because I think people forget how good Kyler Murray is when he's healthy. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, he came off the ACL, and then he's kind of been banged up the past couple seasons. But like how good he can be, especially like when he had DeAndre Hopkins, who was still kind of in his prime, and now you have Marvin Harrison Jr., who's like one of the most elite wide receiver prospects we've seen in a while. With Trey McBride, I mean
Who drafted him in our league?
Kyler.
I don't remember. No,
I don't know who
somebody else.
drafted Kyler. I don't know. Oh, who
Somebody,
drafted
somebody.
Marvin Harrison? I have no idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can go over our fantasy teams towards the end. We had our fantasy draft this last weekend. For those of you that don't know, and I, drafted my elite championship winning team, and Drew decided to
okay.
draft every single rookie wide receiver in the draft,
No, not
other
every
than
single one.
Malik Neighbors.
Okay. Anyways, on to more mature things.
Drafted Justin
The
Jefferson one time, and he thinks that every rookie is going to be Justin Jefferson.
This is the one I'm telling you. But anyways, yeah, I think that like if you just look at the roster construction, it's it's hard not to say that the 49ers are going to win this division.
What do you think
It's
happens
like
with
saying
Ayuk? Side note, real quick.
I think he stays with the 49ers because
Agreed.
it's been this long.
Yeah,
He's
kind
had
of too late.
opportunities to go to other teams, yeah, and I think that at this point, like if he's going to go to another team, he's not going to be all that productive because he's not going to have that rapport with the quarterback.
So the Patriots
So
want you, Ayuk. He's like, fuck that, right?
he's like, oh wait, actually, I'm just going to go back, bro. I'll go
right?
back for
He's like,
pennies on the dollar. I'll
nah,
pay
it's
to
I.
play.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Exactly. Um, but yeah, so I mean, it's hard not to choose them again, which I'm gonna choose them again because
It's
that it
stupid.
just is what it is,
It's too much talent for no damn reason.
legit. But at the same time, I think that you know what, Alex,
I'll
you
say
know
it.
what, Mr. Harris,
If you choose, oh Lord, okay. I swear to
I I say
God.
that the
Mm-hmm.
Seattle Seahawks
Mm-hmm.
are going to be NFC West champions.
I like you. Like it. I love it. That's amazing. Open up the offense, bolster that defense, bring in the the Ravens coach. All right, air it out. Let's go.
And I think that one of the major things is going to be the fact that well, I mean, it also does help that you guys have a new regime over there too. But more so, I don't want to say I'm preying on the downfall, but in terms of injuries,
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the healthier seasons for the 49ers that they've had in a long time. And I
Debo
don't
missed
think
like
that.
4 games too. That's the crazy
Oh
thing.
yeah,
Other than that, like yeah, but George Kittle stayed healthy. Ayuk stayed relatively
mhm.
healthy. Brock stayed
And
healthy.
CMC
And
and,
hey, hey,
I'm just saying,
hey,
hey man,
I
I just
drafted
say
CMC. All right, okay.
I'm just saying
You leave him
he
alone.
played a full season,
He's
and
gonna do it again.
okay, we'll see. So like with all of that,
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't a lot of injuries last year, and we know that the 49ers are one of the most injury prone teams.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but also the one of the biggest things too is whenever Trent Williams is playing out there for the 49ers, that's when they're at their best. If they don't have Trent Williams, then that is going to be a major problem. And so I think that with all of the overshadowing of, or I guess more so the cloudiness, we'll call it, of
Mm-hmm.
the Ayuk situation, combined with the regression to the mean with the injuries and everything like that. They're one of
Mm-hmm.
the healthiest teams last year, and with Trent Williams, I think that they're going to be coming back to the pack this year.
So you
Do
got
I
the
think they're
Seahawks
going
like
to finish
11-6 or what? What are you trying to say?
Say what?
So you means you got like the Seahawks at like 11-6 or what? What you trying to say? Or you think it's
Okay,
gonna be like
stop.
10-7 and then like a tiebreaker or something like that?
I mean, that's probably a little bit more realistic there. But
Whatever.
you also have. I'm I'm more so concerned about the Trent Williams situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally like night and day with Brock Purdy. Um, Whenever he has him versus when he doesn't have him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do think that the Seahawks can potentially edge out the 49ers this year. And I'm not being a homer because I don't really root for the Seahawks that much because everybody out here be rooting for them. So I'm just like, you know what? Forget them.
Yeah, let's become a Saints
um,
fan. That makes sense.
okay. Well, Reggie Bush is out there, Drew Brees is out there. You know what I mean? So it's just natural.
Now you got
Anyways,
Derek Carr and
um,
Kendra Miller.
don't remind me.
Mm-hmm.
Packers, cold sweats. But anyways, uh, that's kind of how I see that playing out. And then in third place, I see the Rams hanging out there, and I still think that uh, the Cardinals are still a couple years away, maybe a year away from being actual competitor. Sure, they have all this elite talent over there now. Well,
They ain't got
all
no
this elite
defense.
talent. They have couple players over there. Exactly. They have
They got Buddha.
zero.
That's it. They got Buddha.
they hmm They are projected to be one of the worst defenses in a long time. So I don't think that they're going to be on the same pace that the that the Broncos were on the first like 6 weeks, where they were on the historical pace. But I don't think that they're going to be very good. But that's great for fantasy because
Kyler to the
high
moon.
scoring offense, terrible defense, perfect match made in heaven. So that's kind of how I see that shaking out.
Fair enough. So last but not least in the NFC, we have the NFC East, which is always super competitive. Let you go first on this one. How do you have it shaping up? I know you probably got the Giants, squeaking it out.
Yep. So the Giants, with the revival of Danny Dimes, he is going to lead the charge to the Giants finishing dead last in the division.
Bro, he has
Then,
pictures. I don't care. Like I don't understand. They're like they 3 years ago they literally were like, you know what? Let's evaluate our team right now. And Daniel
mhm.
Jones played just about as good as he's been playing over the past 2 years. And they're like, you know what? We're gonna pay Daniel Jones $160 million, and we're gonna franchise tag Saquon Barkley because we don't think he's worth it. Like I don't understand. I don't understand.
It makes literally no sense. Because it's not like he's shown. I guess he's shown a couple plays. He's
He
shown
can move.
5 plays.
That's it. He can move.
Yeah, and then he'll trip and fall on like the 5 yard line when he's
Exactly.
going in for a touchdown. Um, but yeah, I don't think that they're going to be very good. And I feel bad for Neighbors because he's
Mm-hmm.
an elite talent for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But how are you going to be an elite talent if you can't get the ball?
True.
So
Y'all
that
made.
exactly. But I do think that I think that it's going to be a good offense in whatever year that they decide to get rid of Daniel Jones. Honestly, um, that's when they'll start that back up again. Um, with the offensive with the offense though, outside of Malik Neighbors, they have literally nobody to pass the
Devin
ball to.
Singletary to the moon.
Exactly. If that is your hope on offense, you have no hope. I'm sorry. Like that is not the answer. So, and then their defense, middle of the pack. So we'll see how that ends up shaping out for them. Probably not very well. They'll probably be in some games because of the defense, but their offense is going to let them down. It'll be probably a Salvation Army version of the Jets last year. Their defense isn't nearly as good, and their quarterback play isn't nearly as bad. So they'll meet somewhere right in the middle.
It's
And I
close.
think that they'll finish with maybe 5 wins or so.
That's what I
Um,
got at 5-12. All right, let's look
yep.
at the goodness of the division, though. How do you have it? Who you have winning?
Yep. So um, there hasn't been a repeat winner of that division in quite some time. And I don't think that that trend is changing anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
So I am picking the Philadelphia Eagles. Shout out to Noah. I think that over the beginning part of the season, they were absolutely dominant. It was a terrible beat if you had their win total over 11 and a half because they
Finished like
down the
two
stretch
and six.
exactly. So like I feel bad for anybody that had that. But with that, the first half of the season was absolutely phenomenal, and they were clicking on all cylinders. were they squeaking out some wins here and there that they probably shouldn't have won?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. But at the same time, that's what separated them from other teams is that they were winning those important quarters, the second quarter and the third quarter, setting them up for winning situations in the fourth quarter. And I think that winning the middle eight is very important. That's one of the main things that the Lomardis always talk about is winning the middle eight whenever it comes to any kind of game. Um, Along with that, Jalen Hurts, he was Hurts a lot last year,
Okay.
pun intended.
All right.
But uh, this year going forward, he's completely healthy. He doesn't have anything going on with his ankle or with his shoulder or with his pinky toe or anything like that. He's healthy. He's good to go. And it also helps that they have Saquon Barkley back there as well to open up the run game even more, as if they needed more offensive firepower.
Yeah.
AJ Brown was on a historical pace. I believe how many games was it? 6, 7 games in a row that he
It's like
had.
7 in a row.
Yeah, it was like 100 yards plus
And
or
a
something like that,
touchdown.
and a touchdown. Yep, and a lollipop. So I think that this might be a little sneak preview. He may or may not be on my short list of players that are going to have a major impact this year. I wish he was on my fantasy team. He is not. Whoever has them, whoever has him, I should say, give him to me immediately. Um, Anyways, I think that this is gonna be a pretty big year for them. I'm glad that I like that. That was one of the first bets that I made this year was on them to win the division. It was like plus 130. Now it flipped, or like already they're like minus 130 now. So now they're the odds-on favorite. Because we've seen what's happened with the Cowboys and what they've been trying to do this offseason, which is nothing. And they haven't made their team better. They've actually somehow found a way to make their team worse. So I'm pretty down on the Cowboys this year. Somehow, some way, they've won 12 games the past 2 seasons.
Past
Not
3.
going to happen in past 3. See, I don't know how that even happens.
Bro, I don't
They
know.
are not going to they're not going to do it this year. I can tell you that. That's for sure. I think that if your backfield consists of players that were good
Rico
in what,
Dowdle
like
to the moon, Drew.
2015. Stop. Like Zeke was good before. He ain't now, and now they're looking at Dalvin Cook now too.
No, they don't need that. They got Rico Dowdle.
Like so, I don't think that there's really anything that the Cowboys improved on this year, except for finding a way to spend more money on their elite players because they wait to give them contracts until the market's been reset by another major contract. And then they're like, oh, shoot, now we try to pay him now. And then it's too late. Then they pay him, way overpay him and stuff too. So now they have no money to do anything or get anybody. Um, so now America's team is going to be trash.
Well,
Yeah.
fair enough. Well, I have it pretty much the same way you do. I have the Eagles winning this season again. Like I said, I don't understand how they lost last season. They literally shit the bed and somehow went 2-6 to end the season. Then they got beat by Baker Mayfield. So if that doesn't have a wake up call, I don't know what will. They actually did revamp the offense. Obviously, added Saquon Barkley, and then they made the trade recently for Jahan Dotson. So they kind of have like one of the best 3 wide receivers in the league with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, who's probably one of the best wide receiver twos, and Jahan Dotson, who did really good flashes over when he was in Washington. We just didn't really have too many people to throw him the ball. But it's okay. Terry McLaurin to the moon this season by himself. But yeah, like you said, the Cowboys didn't really do anything in the offseason. People are like, oh, okay, you get rid of Tony Pollard. We need more running back staff. They're like, okay, yeah, we'll bring back the corpse of Zeke and Rico Dowdle, who's been here for the past couple of years and hasn't really done too much, but has shown flashes. True. But yeah, didn't do really anything in the wide receiver corps. They're just like, you know what, CD Lamb or bust. That's it. We'll keep Brandon Cooks, and that's pretty much it. Drake Ferguson, here's 7 touchdowns, but they don't really have anything else. So, and they kind of have the weird situation going around, like you said. CD Lamb finally got his contract. They waited to the very last second after everybody had been paid, after Amon-Ra had been paid, Justin Jefferson had been paid, and then Jerry Jones is just sitting back there saying, like, I don't think it's a major concern to pay CD. and then they make him one of the highest paid receivers. And now you probably are going to have to let Dak walk in free agency next year because you're not going to have enough money to pay him because you're going to have to pay Micah next year. So I think that I don't think the Cowboys are going to win 12 games again, which I've been saying the past 3 years, and they're still doing it. But I literally don't fathom how they're going to do that. I still think they're going to be a good team just off their defense alone. And they have firepower offensively, even if it's not from the running backs. But like you said, their defense did get worse. They did have injuries. Duran Bland is hurt, and he's going to be out to start the season, as well as some other major injuries to their defense. So I just don't think they're going to be as good. So I think they're going to be a solid team, and they're probably going to be in the playoffs as a wild card. After that, I do have the Commanders because I think that Jaden Daniels is going to be a very big step up and upgrade from Sam Howell. And then your boy Austin Eckler now plays over there, Drew. I know you love him so much. And then I do have the Giants coming up the rear because I don't see very much. But I do like the Commanders. I like them a lot with John Dotson just because I wanted like kind of more diversity for wide receiver options when it came to Jaden Daniels. But I think that Terry McLaurin's going to be a great player this year. He's probably finally going to have his breakout, his DJ Moore season, if you will. And yeah, so I pretty much have the same way: Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders, and Giants. Any thoughts on Jaden McDaniels?
Yeah, I really like him. I'm upset that I didn't get him in fantasy because he's he's exactly what you look for in a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that can run, somebody that
I
can
am
pass.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go that far.
I am Lamar Jackson.
Okay, okay. But my major concern, one of the main reasons why I didn't get either Austin Eckler or
Brian Robinson Jr.
Brian Robinson Jr. Was because of how awful and horrendous their offensive line is going to be this year.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about not having anybody. Like they have zero ability on that offensive line, and I don't think that it's going to be. I don't think they're going to have much of an option for McDaniels to be running around and everything too. Sure,
yeah, he's going to be on his Justin Fields.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing too is a lot of his runs in college were designed runs, so they weren't necessarily or sorry, let me back up. They were scrambles, but they also had design runs. With his scrambles, that was mainly because there was nobody open downfield. It wasn't like a typical, a typical where you see quarterbacks scrambling because they get feel pressure in the pocket and then they get nervous and then there's somebody open downfield, but they just tuck it and run. With his, a lot of times it was okay, nobody's open, and he actually made the correct decision to run and get down the field. But then when teams started to keen in on that, he was able to fake the run, drop back, and then pop it over the top down the field because he also does have low key a little bit of a howitzer out there too. So I think that he's going to be a great talent. I think he's pretty underrated, honestly, too, because he's not getting nearly as much praise as, I mean, obviously Caleb Williams is going to get his and everything like that. But you also hear about Bo Nix and stuff. Oh, he's going to be the starter. He's so great. All these things. But Jaden McDaniel, like he's low key going to be a pretty solid talent for Washington going forward. And I think that this new regime that they have out there is going to be pretty solid in about a couple years. Same thing like with the Cardinals as well. I just think that they need some work on the offensive line as well as on the defense end too, because their defense is going to be piss poor as well because they traded every single person that they had available last year.
Okay.
So, but overall, I think that they'll be about middle of the pack in terms of finishing the division.
Fair enough. So good. That is the NFC. So we're going to hop over to the AFC.